Hello and welcome to this Project in a Box video session. We're going to be looking at piabx files here today. So most people currently use Word to manage their text type templates supporting their project methodologies. We've also been using them for a long time, 20 years in fact, but find that there are some problems associated with using Word files in a system type environment. And so we've developed a new tool which supports piabx files, and that's what we're going to have a look at here. So let's start by thinking about some of the issues that we and other people have found with Word. So our system, the main Project in a Box application, stores properties. It collects them and stores them. And these will be at a project level, things like description of the project, who the project manager is, who the department is, start and end dates of the project, all those sorts of things. Many of them are quite small, and those can easily be injected into your Word files. When you check the file out, it updates the latest properties from the system, and that's a really neat, slick thing. People like that. But it's limited. The doc properties capability in Word is limited to 140 characters. So, you know, if you're putting a big project description in, you get the first sentence or something, which isn't ideal. And in fact, in Word, of course, it's very, very difficult, nigh impossible, to get anything back out. So people have often said, well, I've written my description for something within my Word file. Can I not reuse it elsewhere? Well, you can't get that block out. So piabx files are going to deal with that as well. When you have a Word file and you check and you get a read-only version of it, and that's what we do when somebody wants to read the file and we give them a view copy, we flag it as read-only. Now, unfortunately, that allows people to change the file within Word as much as they want to. It just doesn't allow them to save the same name, which is, okay, you've stopped them overwriting something, but they've made all the changes already, and that's not really ideal, and people sometimes fall into that trap of making changes to a copy they should only be reading. And when you give somebody a file, they can change anything. They can change the headings, they can put new sections in, they can change the headers and footers and the logos and all those sorts of things. And often templates, you want to be a standardized set of content. And that, again, can be a problem. So piabx files, we're going to address that as well. And probably the biggie is that, as a Word file, you need to use Word to edit it. So if you download a file, you're going to have to open it in an app. If you're working on a smartphone or a tablet, you may not have the correct app. On a desktop environment, you probably will, but not everybody always has the app available when they need it. And just a practical point of when you're working through the files, sometimes Word files can be long and you've got to scroll through and find the section you want to fill in. And people can find that a bit annoying when they've got large documents to get to the right place. So we've got something in piabx files to help address that as well. So, Word files are great when you're just using them from a folder environment, but if you want to make them more an interactive part of the system and deal with some sort of usability type issues, then you really need to go a bit further. And so that's what we've developed piabx for. piabx, actually there's a suite of things for dealing with it. The first thing is that you can deal with it within the browser. So in the browser, you can automatically preview piabx files. Well, you can preview Word files in the browser as well, but you can preview them and also edit them directly in the browser. So you don't have to bring the file down and do anything with it, and that means you can do it from any device that you want to. There is also a piabx viewer, a separate application to support Windows type users, so they will be able to view and edit the piabx files in that separate application, and that's now part of our standard suite Planner Community Edition piabx. So when you download or upgrade that set, you'll get the piabx viewer included, and in fact the piabx viewer is also included in the installs for Small Team and Enterprise Edition, etc. And then there's also a piabx designer. So this allows you to design your own piabx templates. Of course, our methods now all come with, our core methods, the n-step methods, 1, 3, 4, and 5 steps. They all have versions which are either Word templates, the traditional ones, or piabx templates, the newer ones. And so you can choose between them, and in fact it means you can try both out and see what you think about it. But the piabx designer is enabling you to design your own templates to put in your own methodologies if you want to. So that's the set of things. There's some useful supporting resources here as well, knowledge base article, things of that type. So you can look back at those later should you want to. let's go off now and have a look at some of that all happening in the real world. So here we are in our live edition, or the browser interface of our Small Team Enterprise edition. And when I come through my process, I'm going to see the documentation that's appropriate. We've all seen that before. And in fact, here's a Word file. And of course, I can preview my Word file. Here it is. And I can scroll through it to the sections I'm interested in. If I want to make some changes to it, though, I would have to check it out. I'd have to bring a copy locally to my machine, open it in Word, and then load it back to the server to load it back in, because Microsoft don't allow you to edit Word files in other applications. So that's not so great. I mean, on my desktop here, that's fine. It's a bit of a faff, but it's okay. But it's not going to work on my smartphone very easily. So other file types, though, like piabx files, you can do both. So if I come up here and my mandate, I've got here my mandate, and it's a piabx file, and it previews in here. Looks pretty similar to the sort of things you might do in a Word file, and that's really quite deliberate. But you'll see also you can edit it. And when you edit it, it's edited directly through the browser. You'll see it's changed mode to edit, and the sections that are laid out in this template are available to me as tabs. So I can jump straight to the one that I'm interested in and start to make changes to it. Don't have to scroll all the way through to find the thing. I just jump to the bit I want, start making some changes. It supports copy paste, as you can see. Depending on the browser, you'll get spell checks, etc. And you can just work your way through the sections as they're laid out. Some of these are just big blocks of text. Others have got it laid out in a little bit more detail. You can also put tables in, and date pickers, and all those sorts of things, tick boxes, etc. So we'll look at a couple of different ones as we go through. But that's the idea in the browser. We can simply edit it, and then when I save, it's going to flow back through the normal Project in a Box checkout, check-in type procedure. And that's now the latest version updated. Now, if we want to see the history of that, we can come to here and see that history. You can see I made that change today, and that's stored, and I'll be looking at viewing or previewing or editing the current version, and only able to view the previous ones. So piabx files really made it very easy to edit it anywhere you want to. You can also print them from here as well if you need to. So that's viewing and editing piabx files in the browser interface. As I say, we also have a piabx application on the desktop. So this is exactly the same project here I'm working on in my Windows application. Same project mandate file. Of course, with the other ones we looked at, my business case here, I would of course view it. It would open in Word, and that's perfectly normal on my desktop. In fact, on the desktop we always deal with content like that. It opens in the associated application, and therefore for the piabx file, the same thing I want to happen, but I'm going to do two slightly different things. And just to contrast that, I'm going to double click to view the business case. And here we are, it's just opened on the other screen. But even though I've viewed it and I've got a read-only copy, I've essentially got a copy that I could edit if I wanted to. You know, I could come in and take all this stuff out and make changes to the content, take sections out, put new sections in, etc. Do a whole load of work. It's only when I try and save it that I realise I've got a read-only copy, and I'm going to have to go back and check out the other one, or fiddle around to get this one as a replacement. So that's not ideal. When I instead use a piabx file, if I view that, what it gives me is the piabx viewer, but it gives me in a view only mode. I can't change this content in these sections. It's all grayed out. I'm not able to make changes to it. I can read the content but not change it. I could print the content but not change it. And in fact, you'll see here again, the piabx viewer offers you two modes. You've got the sort of tabbed view, or you can drop it into a normal down the page type Word preview, with logos, with headers and footers as required. Injection of properties, that's what we've got here. And in fact, this is the content we put in when we were editing it on the browser. So that previewing mode, when you just get a view of the file in a piabx, is properly not editable. When I come, of course, to check the piab file out and work on it from here, it's going to open in the same viewer, but it's going to be opening as an editable version. So we'll see now this is editable. I can come in here and add some new content to that in exactly the same way as we did before. It does, though, have a knowledge about the things that have been injected into it. So here we've got reference details, which are injected from, these are the properties from the central server injected, and they would have been injected into my Word file as well if I'd have wanted to. But they're then not editable here because they're injected content. They're managed from somewhere else. In the Word file, once you've got everything, it is just everything, and you can change it however you want to. So we're giving you more control over what you allow the users to edit. So for example, they can't come in and put their own sections into here. They can put as much text as they want to down the page, but they can't add sections, they can't change the guidance, the headers, the footers, the logos, etc. All that stuff is fixed. So it's allowing you to standardize the content that you want people to collect in a much more rigorous way than you ever can with Word files. So I'm just going to save that one and check it back in. That's the normal sort of routine. Rather than the direct edit, we've got checkout, check in, and that's then that same mechanism from the Windows application is identical for all the different file types we might deal with. Okay, so that's viewing and editing piabx files. It's easy. It's just very similar to in Word, but you're getting many, advantages to the one to working in the Word files. In particular, like I say, editing in the browser, control of format and structure. We're going to do another video later which looks at the designer and how you can set up and customize your own piabx files, but I thought it'd be useful just to have a look at a couple of different ones. So let's pick some different ones. We've got the appointments one here. Again, it's going to open in the viewer, and you'll see I've opened it in a view only mode, but this has a very different feel to the mandate one we just looked at. We've got sections of who's appointed for this particular project, what roles are we appointing, and a notes section. So these are simple tick items, and then for each role you've got a date picker, is that person appointed, any notes that are relevant, etc., and you can go through those. And then there's also an other roles area where you can come in and add any other particular roles that you want to. So we've got the main common ones laid out, and then space for other ones here, and then reference details just in the same sort of way as we had on that last one. Of course, these are only viewed files, so it's not filled anything in. If I check that out, I'm going to get that filled in with content. So we've got all sorts of different things here. This might be a much bigger one, the PID here. So again, just a preview, a view of that. A lot more tabs here, and this is a typical template that in Word, people might often have 20-30 pages. You've got to scroll through to find the particular bits you want. We've got definition broken down in the way that it normally would be, and we can then jump through each of the sections. We can jump a long way ahead if we want to approaches, etc. And we've got all the materials there laid out. We've got guidance in these, so these some of these templates come with guidance sections in as well, so you can see what it is you're supposed to put into each of these various areas. But exactly the same sort of stuff as we looked at before, but just a slightly bigger version, and pretty straightforward to work with. And of course, switch that into preview mode, and we get our down the page more like a Word type of arrangement. But it doesn't, of course, when you're in this sort of section and you're printing it, it doesn't pad out all those. Often people put in their templates a load of blank rows to make it lay out a bit nicer. We're not interested in all that space you've got to scroll past, which you'd get in a Word file. Here, if the section's empty, we're showing it as empty. Once you start filling in, it will expand to fill that available space. But until then, it's considered empty. Okay, I hope you found that useful. And like I say, come along and watch the next section, which is looking at the designer and how you can design your own piabx files. Thank you very much.